Overall, I would say the workmanship on these are pretty good. Seems a little on the high end, just because I know you can get scrubs for like 20 bucks on Amazon. From what I've seen so far, this is my first time reviewing FIGS. There's definitely attention paid by the design team. All right, we're back. What do you got for me this week?
Check this out.
Okay, FIGS. This was a community request from TikTok. Let's see what we got here. So we have scrubs here. So FIGS is a apparel brand in the scrubs industry. Got the V-neck top here. Definitely a blend here. And there's some stretch in here for sure. The pants. Okay, this is a matching set. How much was the set?
So the top was $58 and the bottom was $68.
Canadian?
Canadian.
Not crazy price. I would say though, like, my mom was a nurse and I remember she probably had like 10 different scrubs. So I think this is one of the things where compared to traditional clothing, it might not be crazy expensive, but knowing they have to have multiple ones of these, that's where you can probably get pretty crazy. But let's take a look at this more. FIGS. So this is the Tanton Jogger scrub pant. 4-way stretch, yes, I can feel that. This is a stretch twill for sure. Breathable, antimicrobial, so there might be a silverescent finish on this. And you can usually add that in the finishing stage for the fabric. It's anti-wrinkle, a little bit, I can see a little bit of wrinkling here. Awesome humans, we wear FIGS. Body is 72% polyester, 21% rayon. Rayon's gonna give that really nice kind of soft hand feel, and 7% spandex. The contrast, which is gonna be this, is 88% polyester, 12% spandex, 100% awesome. It's really fun. I love it when brands are a little more cheeky and have a little more fun with traditional stuff like care labels. One thing you'll notice with what's called a stretch twill is wovens don't traditionally have a lot of stretch, and you can add spandex to give it that stretch, but you'll see at 7%, you're not getting that much more stretch than you would compare it to a knit item with that much spandex. Just because when it comes to knits, the loops itself give you innate mechanical stretch. That's why you can get things that are 100% cotton, 100% polyester and still have a little bit of stretch in it, but not with wovens. Okay, let me look at one item. This is my first time doing 2 items at once, but let me take a look at the top first. This is a V-neck design, and this is the Leon 3-pocket scrub top. So we have self fabric here for the V, same for the pocket. All the pockets are bar tacked to reinforce it, which is nice. Overall, fairly basic garment. When it comes to scrubs themselves, a lot of times what I've noticed, so we've actually sourced a few scrubs for various clients. And when it comes to scrubs themselves, they're often fairly basic because they're more of a tool. Because they're a uniform, they're there to, one, provide you utility of covering yourself, pockets and everything. And 2 is self-expression. I remember with my mom, she always had really fun scrubs because she worked in the paternity ward. So it allowed her to invoke certain emotions, and this goes back to regular fashion. It allowed her to invoke various emotions in the mother she was taking care of. So in case of what I've seen from FIGS so far, they really do have a lot of fun collabs. I think I've seen like a Star Wars collab. Obviously this color is fairly on trend right now. I think it allows the wearers to have a lot of self-expression that might be lacking in a traditional uniform. So again, when I see the top itself, fairly basic construction. I think the highlight here is the fabric is nicer than normal. So when it comes to scrubs, you are gonna find that they're mostly going to be wovens just because they're gonna be a lot more durable. They're not gonna snag as easily as knits, and you're not gonna have to deal with a lot of issues in terms of its durability, washability, and its ease of care. But that's the top here. Overall though, I would say, like, even looking at the workmanship here, we have a overlock on the side with a single needle chain stitch to give it a nice clean finish. When it comes to wovens too, because they don't shift as much as knit fabrics, when you are manufacturing wovens, they should be very close to spec because you don't have to deal with, when you're sewing, the fabric moving and stretching as you're feeding the machine. Typically when you're feeding it, it's gonna be very straight, it's gonna be very bang on, and they're gonna be a lot more to spec than traditional knits. But I think one thing I can see here, which is definitely quite prevalent here, is that they overlocked it and then they did the single needle chain stitch to give a little bit more security to the side seams as well as the arm seams. Yeah, nothing else here that I can see is a major highlight in terms of issues. They did a heat transfer logo here, and of course the label on the arm. For the pant here, let's take a look at this pant. So this is a jogger pant style here. We have an elasticated waistband here and a drawstring. The drawstring is fed all the way through. I can see it's tacked at the back, which is great. It means you're not gonna have to really worry about it coming out, which is often a very large annoyance when they don't tack it. And it has a floating elastic in here. So the elastic itself is in this tunnel here on the waistband, which is gonna give it a little more snug on the waist. Bar tack seams everywhere. We have a elongated gusset on the pant here. So gusset panels on pants are there for function to give you a lot more stretch, because fabrics are gonna have different variants of stretch when it comes to the directions being pulled in. A gusset this long, however, I would say is purely decorative. There's not really a lot of additional functionality that's there by bringing the gusset this long. And I can see here that there is a panel on the back of the pant as well. Again, this panel on the back of the pant is purely decorative. What I would say it does though is, as a consumer, if you see this and you don't know that it's purely decorative, it does look like it's a little bit more technical, I would say, than a traditional pant. When you get pants like this that are in an environment where all the other nurses, they're all very tight knit, everyone's seeing these other pants, and you're seeing now all of a sudden pants that have these seams, a lot of people, if you're not in the garment industry and fashion industry, you're gonna start thinking, why don't my pants have these seams? And then everyone starts looking for these things because they think it's a little bit more technical when, again, it's just purely decorative. Oh, nice. It has nice deep pocket bags that are self fabric, which is great. I think one of the worst things you can always do in pants is having short pocket bags so that your stuff always falls out. So any brands out there, if you're designing any type of pants, make sure you have deep pocket bags always. And then we got a fake fly here. We have a little pocket on the inside for AirPods, keychains, keys. Let us know in the comments if you own any FIGS and if you actually use these pockets and what you use it for. And of course, you got the back pockets. These are a little bit more shallow. Okay, so over on the cuff, we have a elasticated rib. Next in here, be a little more snug. Some loose threads here. I spotted a few loose threads here and there. Overall though, I would say like these are pretty decently made. You know, when it comes to the seams such as these seams here, it's not always necessary to do an additional single needle stitch here for the seam. It's definitely an added cost, but I think from what I've seen so far, this is my first time reviewing FIGS, there's definitely attention paid by the design team that are making these to elevate the garment a little bit more. Do you see a snag here on the fabric on the inside? So you'll see here with wovens too, once you get a snag, that yarn can start coming out all the way across. You'll see a line start forming. That can happen during the manufacturing process. It could have been snagged by a needle, can be snagged by a lot of different parts of the manufacturing process. That being on the inside, it might present a problem down the road, but relatively small snag overall. Let me show you guys some samples of some scrubs that are, I would say, considered fairly basic and entry. We got these from a supplier. It doesn't really meet our standards, but I just want to give you guys an idea of like how cheap some scrubs can get. So I'll be right back. Okay, so we got these from a supplier based off in China. I would consider these fairly basic. The workmanship, again, because it's a woven, you're not gonna have as many defects as you would for a knit, but something like this, again, we didn't end up going with this manufacturer, but this was $3 for the top. Something like this, again, fairly basic. You're not gonna get a lot of stretch in it. It's gonna do the job, it's gonna function. I think this one was like $3.75. And then this set here, this one had a jogger pant again. Again, workmanship on this one is definitely significantly worse than the FIGS. I wouldn't even compare them. But something like this, you can get for like $4. When it comes to scrubs, I would say these are very like Amazon tier kind of products where people may need a scrub for a job that they're working part-time for and they don't want to invest in a higher quality piece, so they just go on Amazon, find the cheapest thing they can. And I think I've seen a few of these styles actually on Amazon, but just gives you an idea of like how cheap products can get. And I'm sure if you're ordering these at much higher volumes, you can probably get these tops for like $3 and the joggers for like $3.50 as well. But back to the FIGS. I can appreciate the colors that they have. There really isn't a lot to the design of these. They are very functional. I think people really like that they're softer than normal scrubs that they can get that are traditional, just 100% polyester, no stretch. But overall, is there something that's amazing and magical about this? Definitely not. I think what they've done is they've brought a little bit of fashion and a lot of licensing deals into the nursing industry to allow people to have that self-expression, which I think is great. I haven't done a kind of market analysis on competitor scrubs, but I'm sure that there's definitely other brands that have the exact same fabric and probably the exact same cuts, which would be like dupes. So is there anything magical or special about these FIGS? I would say no. Next, I want to cut up these scrubs. I'm going to show you what panel pieces you need to make this top and these joggers. But before I do, be sure to like, comment, subscribe. We're building an amazing community here. And be sure to head over to our Instagram because we're going to start a broadcast channel there where we're going to create lists and people can vote on what items we're going to be doing next. All right, here we have the main logo here. Here we have the FIGS damask woven. We have the cross emblem here. So you'll see these pocket bags here. These pocket bags are often actually done with a machine that clamps it down and it'll fold over the edges of the pocket bags. You'll see over here. And then it will stitch it all down automatically. Of course, they've bar tacked all the pockets too. Like a little hard to cut open. So you see here too, one thing you always have to do when it comes to wovens is you do need to finish the edge, because think of wovens like a picnic basket where they're woven together and the yarns are actually held together by the next yarn. So if you don't finish the edges, what happens is it'll start to fray, and then once it starts to fray, the yarns can start getting pulled out quite easily. You see, so I'm pulling out the cross yarns and then these are all coming out. There's a lot of guys that are wearing shirts with holes in them that have been holes and they've been wearing them for years just because the knit structure itself can stay relatively intact for the most part and not have it propagate throughout the garment, where as you can see this is happening. You'll see here when it comes to wovens, they will just propagate throughout the garment because all that's actually holding this fabric together is going to be these yarns right here. So once these rip, the rest will just follow. There's the front. I'm going to leave the front pocket bag intact just because I torn that fabric enough, but let me show you the rest of the construction here. So we have our V-neck panel here. So you usually do a V-neck and a fold over V-neck like this just for ease of getting the garment on and off. If you have a round crew neck and let's say you have to change your scrubs and your hair's done and a lot of other things, you don't want to be squeezing this garment on and off of your head, and you also want to be able to get it off without contacting your face if there are stains or transfers onto the garment itself. Fabric here. You'll see this white fabric on the back. This is what's called interfacing. So you put interfacing into places of a garment where you want it to be stiffer. And what it is another substrate that's actually glued on to the base fabric to stiffen it. So you'll see how this drapes this woven on this side, whereas if I were to flip this, it stays much more crisp and still. So let's say you're creating a legging, you can put interfacing. There's also like rubberized interfacing as well. You can put interfacing into very specific areas so that the fabric stretches more in other areas than it does in certain areas. So you can put interfacing into the front of a waistband for a legging, and then that'll cause the rest of the stretch to come from the sides and the back, thus causing it to be a little bit more compressive in the front. So collar neck and interfacing here. You know, I like the little fun little things here and there because this is not something other people will notice. This is something that the wearer will notice, and I think something like just saving lives, no big deal. it gives a good feeling to the wearer. And I think for the additional cost of this, which is like a few cents, I think it makes the wear feel a little bit more special than just putting on a regular scrub. So again, kudos to them. I think they're having a lot of fun in their design department creating these products. Then we have the neck binding here. This is just self fabric. Self fabric here. And what they would do to get this fabric is you'd have the main fabric on a roll, and then they just spin, and they have little blades that cuts it into strips. So going back here, again, you'll see because of the chain stitches here, the chain stitch is what holds the panels together, and this overlock stitch is there to just make sure that the woven fabric does not fray and come apart. Yeah, one arm panel here. So here are the panel pieces that you actually need to make this top from FIGS. Again, you have your front panel here with the V-neck, you have your back panel, you have your pocket bags, you have your collar here with the interfacing in it, and you have your 2 sleeve panels, as well as your neck binding and branding elements. So let's take a look at the joggers next. So the joggers here are going to be a little bit more intricate. We have the drawstring here, of course, that is tacked in the back. So let me break that open. So I'm actually going to open this up for you guys so you can just see what goes on in the waistband here. So you'll see in the waistband, again, they have the elastic in here. And then on the inside of the elastic is going to be the drawstring itself. And they're running that drawstring all the way across the garment. But let me pull it out here. I would say if you are a brand again, tacking a drawstring at the back of the garment is kind of something you do as a bare minimum, because nobody wants to have to fish their drawstrings out in laundry. So there is your lime green drawstring. One thing you'll have to do as well, if you're going to be introducing colors that are not DTM, so dyed to match the main body fabric, you need to test it for color fastness. And what color fastness is how much of this color will transfer to this garment and how much of this color will transfer to this garment. And here is the waistband with the elastic here. So you'll see here that it's self fabric, elastic, and then the self fabric. You'll do the sewing and then it'll return to its set state. And that elastic length is kind of pre-cut on the manufacturing floor to be set for each size. This is not a elastic you're gonna be seeing in person. So I would say it's a fairly good elastic in terms of its stretch and recovery. But there is the waistband. We have the FIGS again here on the pocket, branding element there. We have the care labels here. We have the welt pockets here. Bar tacked on both sides. There's a nice touch to reinforce it. We have the front pocket here with the little internal pocket. Yeah, a lot of brands kind of do these little hidden pockets because Lululemon was definitely a pioneer of that little hidden pocket. And I think a lot of people now associate little design elements with a brand like Lululemon, which in this case will kind of make it feel, again, a little more technical. Here is the gusset panel. I'm going to actually leave this leg intact with that bottom panel just so you guys can see how it's done. But this is one panel, this is a panel, and then this is a panel, as well as the gusset. So one thing when it comes to woven garments is that they're typically actually a lot cheaper to manufacture because you're able to make the fabric a lot faster than a knit fabric. You're also able to sew it with fairly common machinery. When it comes to these pants, there's a overlock stitch and then there's a single needle. And other than the bar tacks, that's 3 machines you need to set up a factory to make a woven garment like this. Where when you look at a lot more technical garments like a legging, those machines are actually a lot more expensive. You can get a good commercial single needle machine for woven for like $1,500 to $2,000 brand new. We just bought a flat lock machine for our development center, and that was $14,000 for one machine. In terms of economies of scale, you're able to set up and get a woven factory up and running for a lot less than a knit factory. You don't need a skilled workers to complete a garment like this. You also don't need to deal with a lot of problems such as shrinkage and twisting when it comes to these garments. So that's why you can see a garment like this that on the surface looks fairly technical, but in reality, it's no more complex than those $4 or $5 pants that we showed in terms of manufacturing it. Obviously, I'd say the workmanship of this is significantly better, but the complexity to make a garment like this versus those much cheaper ones are not gonna be much different. So there is the elasticated ribbing for the cuff. I don't think I've ever shown a full kind of leg panel before. This is the left leg panel in its entirety. You'll see that this side's shaped for obviously the glutes. And then this has the fake fly. Fake flies are very common on pants just because it makes the garment feel a lot less sporty and more kind of a professional garment. But again, just to show you, all the panel pieces you need to make each leg. You have your waistband, you have 2 cuffs, you have 2 front panels, you're gonna have 2 lower leg panels, you're gonna have the 1 gusset panel as well as the back, and then all the pocket panels. So now that we've cut this up, let's see what the GSM is, and I want to tell you what I think about this garment and what I think it costs to make. So 210 GSM. So in terms of a scrub, I would say it's definitely a mid to heavier weight scrub. So let's recap. This FIGS scrub set is 72% polyester, 21% rayon, 7% spandex. It is a stretch twill, 210 GSM, and it is made in Vietnam. Overall, I would say the workmanship on these are pretty good. It's very basic construction again when it comes to woven garments. You're gonna be pretty bang on with your measurements, and the pool of available workers are gonna be a lot larger just because it's a lot easier to operate the machines that you need to make woven garments. A lot of stuff like the pocket bags, those are all automated processes for the machinery. So even though it looks like it has a lot of panel pieces, a lot of it can be automated just because the fabric's a lot stiffer. And as you could see with the garments before, the top itself had very similar in terms of panel pieces and workmanship as this top, and that top was only $3.50. So a big part of it is going to be the fabric. The addition of the rayon is definitely going to add to the cost. However, I don't think it's going to add that much, and you're going to be saving with cheaper labor costs in Vietnam. I would say the tops itself, maybe around like $5 or $6 for the scrub top. The jogger itself, because it has a little more components, I would say probably costs around 8 or 9, and that's US. I think if it's retailing for 58 Canadian for the top and 68 US for the bottom, it seems a little on the high end for scrubs, just because I know you can get scrubs for like 20 bucks on Amazon. But if you're looking for something that's a little different, that has trend colors, that can give you that self-expression that you can't get in other scrub brands, I would say, hey, you know what? You're kind of going to have to pay that premium because it's going to cost the brand money to have the ability to do these trend studies, to actually produce these other colors, and to do these licensing deals. If you want a product that's pretty decently manufactured and you want to have access to some fun colors or designs that you might not necessarily get from other brands, then I would say go for it. I do like that they're having a lot of fun when it comes to the little branding elements on the garment. I would say the workmanship is pretty decent. I do like the fabric. I think if you are a nurse, and again, you're spending 12 hours in this garment, you want something that's gonna be very comfortable and it's gonna allow you the freedom and mobility to do your job and execute it well. This could be a great option. If there are dupes out there and you don't care for the FIGS branding, then maybe those are options that you could go with. But overall, I would say I'm pretty happy with what I've seen here. I think there's been a lot of design intent put into these garments to make them very functional. And I think that these are garments that are coming from people that are probably nurses or have worn scrubs at some point in time, because I think there's a little design elements here that you wouldn't know if you came from outside of the industry. Let me know in the comments what you guys think, and let me know what other brands you want to see me take apart next. Till next time. If you guys want to see more behind the scenes secrets on the fashion industry and learn more about how to create products and brands, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and check out these videos.